about the various ways that Asians have been misrepresented in the parallels with African Americans in African literature. So, is there a question in there? I think I just loved the book and wanted to know more about your inspiration.
Well, African American literature was a huge inspiration for me because I'd read Ralph Ellison's Invisible Man in college. It is one of my favorite novels, and as I was writing the book, I kept it on the short shelf of books that would serve as an inspiration for me. And you're right, the opening is a very deliberate invocation of the opening of Invisible Man. And that opening of Invisible Man is about the experience of a black man as someone who feels that he's both invisible and hypervisible at the same time, which of course has not changed to the present day. And Asian Americans and Asians in the American imagination suffer from the same problem. We're invisible and inaudible until we pose a threat in one way, or economic or military or political threat. And so looking at African American fiction was very important to me, especially this idea of double consciousness that Du Bois has, because I think that even though he was speaking about African Americans, this feeling of being inevitably of being split into two, and seeing yourself through your own eyes and the eyes of white people is something that many minorities share in this society. And certainly our narrator is very conscious of that. And by the end of the book, though, if you make it that far, you'll realize, and if you've read all of Invisible Man, that the book departs from Invisible Man in a very serious way, which is Invisible Man is partially about a revolutionary who is betrayed by the revolution and goes into a hole to find himself, and he's left only with himself by the end of the book. And so by the end of the book he turns towards individualism, which fit very well with the ethos of 1950s America. And in my book, by the end, he recommits himself to revolution. One of the lines towards the end is, "I'm a revolutionary in search of a revolution." Commits himself to solidarity. And I thought that was a very important departure for me from Ellison, whom I admire and respect very much, but who I disagree with on that final turn in his book.
Yeah. And Mark Twain.
Yes, of course. I don't think I'm as funny as Mark Twain. I would put myself in the same category. Yeah.
I have to say I was laughing out loud at many times through your book. And, the book I got was an advanced copy, and it's just turned over and over and over. Have you been contacted by any of your colleagues in academia? Although maybe that's not the right place. Are public schools the right place for something like this to be discussed? I mean, in Portland, we're supposed to be having something called courageous conversations about race and ethnicity in the Portland public schools. Yet, anybody from the schools here? It's another WTF public school moment. Anyway, shouldn't this be part of public schools, and are you taking it to public schools, doing summer teacher institutes through National Endowment for the Humanities?
Well, every writer will say, of course it should be a part of the public schools. Whether it is another issue. It's given what I've seen about books being banned from public schools, I can't imagine that this book would somehow not be disliked by certain kinds of people. Of course it's important to have these kinds of conversations, and of course literature can help serve that function. So that's certainly something I would love to see happen.